Hi there. In this screencast, we'll look at sales and adjusting sales. So in order to create a sale for an existing customer, you can simply, just like on the this payable side, you can simply, I'm going to be creating a sale for School Board District 56. You notice I scrolled down looking for it in the S's. It's because a space has been added before School Board District number 56. So that'll force it to sort to the top of lists if you add an exclamation mark or an asterisk or a space there. So if you have a customer you deal with all of the time, a big customer, you may want to do something like that. So in order to create a sale for them, I could just twirl that and create invoice. Alternatively, we could choose sales invoice and then choose School Board District number 56. Alright, so again, I'll create an invoice for School Board number 56. This is on March 4th. And they're buying, let me just make that a bit bigger. They're buying 3 B110s. B means brass. And 3 pops in the price from the inventory item. If we didn't populate that, we'd have to enter that now. And we're going to give them a 5 discount. That's a dollar amount. This account link comes from the inventory item, and everybody pays GST and PST in British Columbia. We're also shipping this item to them, these items to them. Freight is a service, so it's only GST. Notice we have a little salesperson field. This allows us to choose any employee we have a record for. And notice this message that we added to set up settings, receivables, options appears here. And I'm just going to add a bit of text here, so we can always edit that if we like. Now you can see the under the hood bookkeeping by choosing report, sales journal entry, and you see that these things are getting quite complex. So those of you who have taken manual bookkeeping courses can appreciate what's done for you here by Sage 50. And again, an entry like this adheres to all standard bookkeeping standards. And I'll go ahead and post. So I'm going to create one more. This time I'll be using a service item. So in this situation we have, we send one of our employees off to a school once a week for a 3-hour lesson. So it happens every week, always the same amount of time. So we can store this as a recurring entry. So I'm going to choose Bears as the school that we're sending this employee to. This is on the 10th. And our services for this company are all pre-equaled by an X. This job is 3 hours long, and the tax is only GST for service. There's no freight, and we want to store this with the weekly frequency. So we can give it a better name if we like. We could say weekly. Or some such thing. And post. Now to recall this, we simply use this other button. Looks like an arrow coming out of a box. Select, and you'll notice that the date has increased by a week. The original was on the 10th, this is 7 days later, and we can just quickly post that thing. Now the next example is a quote. So we can have a workflow, we can follow a workflow in Sage 50. We can go from a quote to an order to an invoice, or we can go directly from a quote. So a quote is basically when a customer contacts us asking about the cost of a particular item or service or something like that. So we give them the quote, and then they decide whether or not they'll accept the quote. If they do decide they'll accept the quote, then we can then turn that transaction into an order, and then that order into an invoice. Or if they call us up and say go ahead and ship, we could just quickly create an invoice and ship the item, whatever we'd like to do. So notice that we have a transaction field up here for invoice, so I could just simply choose quote, and now my background color changes to a different color, different shade of blue, and now I'm creating a quote. Inversely, you could simply choose sales quotes. You'll notice, this is going to be for Richmond Symphony Orchestra, you'll notice that there is no quote available here. It's only invoice and payments. Basically things that actually affect the bookkeeping, no orders or quotes. So we'll go ahead and create a quote for Richmond Symphony Orchestra. This is on the 14th. And they're asking about pianos. They only want one of them. And we're going to offer them a 5% discount. They're calling us up on the phone, and we want to be competitive because we imagine that they're probably calling other retailers as well. And they also want some sheet music. I'm not going to discount that though. 100 of those. And it's a piano, so it requires someone to bring it over. Whoops, not $1,000, although that's probably more accurate. We'll say $100, and we'll give them 30 days to pay. So that'll affect how interest is charged on overdue amounts, by the way. If you don't fill the 30 days in, it gets assumed. It looks good. I'll go ahead and record that. And okay. Now, to convert that quote to an invoice, you could simply open up invoices and then pick up the quote. That converts the quote to an invoice. Inversely, you could find a quote and then convert it to an invoice as well. So two ways to make a quote in invoice, and you'll find those are standard for orders as well. So they've accepted the quote, we're shipping them the items, so now we're making this an invoice. They called us a week after we made the quote to let us know they wanted it, so it's now March 18th. They said they'll take the item, they'll purchase a piano if we give them a 10% discount. Sorry, $10 discount. Sorry, 10% discount. And we'll go ahead and add some shipping information. So the shipper doesn't exist in our list, but you'll notice that you can add any old shipper that you like. This does not get added to the shippers list in setup settings. If you want to add it there and make it available in the future, you have to actually go there So it's not a two-way communication. And we'll add the tracking number and OK. And we can go ahead and post. And OK. Next thing we'll look at is a CoD sale. So we're going to sell to someone named Deborah Mackey. And she's going to pay now. That's going into 1020. And we'll see how we get the cash or checks out of our cash register and put it into a bank in level 2. Check number 124 on the 17th. And she's buying a C103. Don't forget your taxes. I frequently do. And you'll notice that accounts receivable is not involved. It's a debit to cash for deposit instead. And I'll go ahead and post. I'm going to do another example like this, but this would be handling all of our sales that we handle with an external point of sale system, such as a cash register. Add a new customer called Daily Counter Sales. And I'm going to do a full ad. If I do a quick ad, I'll have to choose taxes for every line. I may forget. Full ad. And I'm going to say GST and PST for all the items. That'll save me a bit of work. It'll be pre-populated for all the lines. It's on March 18th. And don't worry about the invoice number. It's automatically generated. I'm buying I'm selling an A100, and W18, W118 that is, and an A103, and an I105. And an S117. And 2 P101s. So again, these are folks who walk in off the street. We don't collect any of their contact information or their names or anything like that. They pay via cash or check. So make sure you change this to cash. And we're putting the one into 1020. There we go. So again, if you look at the under the hood bookkeeping, you'll notice accounts receivable isn't affected. And I'll go ahead and post that. And okay. Now let's take a look at adjusting. So adjusting means editing, right? So the steps are you need to find the entry that you wish to adjust, and then you can adjust it. Alternatively, you can just go straight to adjustment, and that'll allow you to find it. When you find it, it'll be in editing mode already. Let me just quickly show you a couple of ways to find and adjust an invoice. So we're going to find the invoice where school district number 56 bought 2 B110s. So I can go to sales invoices and twirl that, and invoice, and find invoice, That's one way to find it. And I'll just narrow that down. And okay. We have the one invoice there from the 4th. So it turns out they bought 2 B110s, not 3 of them. So right now we're not in editing mode. We can't change anything until we click on the little pencil. Then we can change that and post it. So that's one way to find and edit. Let me just close this and show you a couple others. So another way we can do that is we can just simply go to Invoice, Adjust Invoice. I'll leave the search criteria the same. That's the one I want. And I'm already in editing mode. So pretty much the same thing. Or you can open your invoices and then use this little glasses here. The same dialog comes up. And adjust. Or, again, just change that to 2. Or you can go to Sales Invoices and click on your little pencil. If you have a blank invoice in front of you, it'll open up that same search dialog. If it's not blank, then you'll be editing the one that's in front of you. So a couple of ways. Oh, let me just show you one other method. So this is the method I'll use when I mark your work. So if I choose reports, I'll just choose journal entries all. I'm going to uncheck corrections. I don't need to see any of those. This is from January 1st to March 31st. We know that this entry happened on March 4th, so we can be a little more specific if we like. Depends if you're having trouble finding something or not. You might want to go with a broader search if you're having trouble finding. I'll just go with March 4th to March 4th. So that'll be all of the entries on March 4th. Choose OK. We just have the one entry. If I just double click on, just make that smaller so you can see it. If I just double click right on the journal entry number, that drills down to the original invoice. And then I can click on my little eraser to adjust and now change it. So a few ways to find and then switch to editing mode so that you can adjust an invoice. And I'll go ahead and post. And OK. And when you adjust, of course, you can change anything about an invoice, not just the amount. If you entered the wrong date, for example, which is very common, or you forgot to add taxes or terms or freight information, etc. You forgot to add a salesperson, anything at all. All right, well, that's creating sales invoices, quotes, CoD sales invoices, recurring invoices, as well as over-the-counter sales using an external point of sale system, as well as finding and adjusting invoices. Thanks so much for watching.